Welcome to Polished-ish. Polished-ish is where real stories meet real lessons. Hosts Ruma, Julianne, and Jerry share unfiltered conversations about failure, growth, and the messy beauty of life, proving that imperfection is where the magic happens. So pull up a chair, because life isn't polished, it's polished-ish. You're listening to Polished-ish, because life isn't polished and neither are we. I'm Jerry Summers.
I'm Julianne Worm.
And I'm Ruma Bhagat. And today we'll be talking about a topic which I think many of us have experienced in our life when things don't necessarily go the way we've planned it. So guys, great to have you all, to be talking to you all today. Do you have any experiences that you can share where you thought something was going to, you had planned for something and it kind of didn't work out like that?
We only allowed to share one?
Yeah, we're only allowed to share one.
Yeah, well, you can say as many, but let's just start with one.
I'll tell you about something that didn't go my way. I moved to New York back in 1997, start a new life. I actually followed a woman and it didn't work out. And I was in New York slowly sinking little by little, like financially, just couldn't get my footing. I left Hawaii and went to a big city. New York was, two very different places. And at one point I just said, I got to throw in the towel. I got to get out of here. This is just not working. It's just not happening. So I left and I went back to my parents' house for like 4 months, ended up going back to Hawaii, getting my old job back. But it made me start to think a little bit about the act of like grit and grinding it out versus quitting versus pivoting. Like, when do you kind of do those types of things? So thoughts on that, you guys?
Well, can I ask some background questions quickly?
Of course.
Who was the girl?
Oh, no names.
Who was the girl? I gotta know.
No names.
Thou
Bridget
shalt
Bardot.
not be named.
Okay. I feel like in life, and this is only cumulatively after having had so many things not go how I wanted them to go. From my experience, when life starts like putting up roadblocks, there's this saying about how life will like knock on your door. And if you're not paying attention, it'll eventually start throwing bricks. And it sounds to me like that's what happened to you. It's like things are going in a direction. And what point are you going to heed the message? Because I feel like when I've made big decisions, I knew it was the right decision when things started falling into place. And then that built momentum. You know what I mean? And
hard.
And a certain amount of difficulty, things are hard, right? Trying to do new things, it is hard. But when you're not getting a break, it's like it's funny because, we have so much. I mean, now is the first time people are talking really about failure because it's where you learn everything, right? But there's so much, Duckworth, who talks about grit. It's like, at what point are you just being stubborn and like not having any agility to say, lesson learned, uncle?
Yeah, I got hit by a lot of bricks.
Right. Right. And you're like, we're bobbing and weaving. Like, I gotta get out of the way.
Yeah, take those bricks and make a little doghouse or something, right? I mean, that is the part. I think even if the most successful people have had things that have not gone their way, right? In life, they have become successful, so they don't think about that. We only look at, oh my God, look at what they've accomplished. Recently everybody is talking about SpaceX and look at how many failures they actually had before
things are blowing up all the time.
And they're basically saying, that just helped us learn what we are not going to do the next times. I bet things are actually 99% of the times are going to land up differently, than what we had planned. The reason why they come to that is people who know how to make those changes to say, well, that didn't work, so I'm going to try this, and that didn't work, so I'm going to try this. It's different from quitting. It's different from quitting. Quitting is just like you are done and you leave. Making changes is not the same as quitting. Making changes is like art, right? Yeah, I mean, just my journey, I started as a physician. Like, I went to medical school. I wanted to go and, my dream was, when I started first year in medical school, was medicine sans frontières, sounds great, MSF, you're going to go and save the world. I had a choice and there was something that happened and I had to make a different choice. Like, going to MSF did not really say that I would be able to, have a family or a life that I wanted eventually. So it is okay to make changes. It's okay to sort of think and reevaluate, because, what you may have thought 20 years back was the right thing may not be the right thing. But
Yeah, and I
sometimes,
felt such shame when I left. I felt such like a failure. I'm like, "Oh, I went to the big city, and the big city chewed me up and spit me out," right? Like, "If you can make it there, you can make it anywhere." And I was like, "Well, I didn't make it there, so I guess I can't make it anywhere." So there was this crawling back, like, with your tail between your legs kind of feeling that was just horrible, and it made me really think about other things that have happened in my life, and when like you said, when does the signals telling you, like, "This is not working, and you need to backtrack and change?" And I think kind of picking up on those signals might be a little bit of a talent or a gift, right?
yeah.
Because
So,
ego comes into play, you're like, "I'm not quitting. I'm
okay.
staying here. I'm gonna grind it out," and you just keep it gets worse and worse and worse.
And how much of that is about you and how much of that is about others? Like, if I leave or if I don't make it, what will others say? So
How were
much
your
of
Mhm.
what we
parents?
do.
Sorry, when you went home, how was it with your parents?
Oh, they didn't care, it was horrible for me. Who wants to be, like, 26 years old moving back to their parents' house? It was the worst day of my life. No offense, mom and
Now
dad.
that's all anyone does.
And it's okay. It's okay.
But it did make me regroup, right? And it did
Mhm.
make me there were some pluses that did come out of there. I learned a little bit about financial responsibility after that, right? I'm like, "Oh, I got myself in a little bit of financial trouble just trying to make it there. Now I'm more fiscally responsible, and I understand how to manage my money a little better." So some good things came out of it the more you look back on it.
Yeah. And I think that is the part where you have to say, okay, like you had the courage to say, that's it. This is not working out and
Mhm.
I am going to do something different, even though it means totally changing what I thought was going to be my life plan. Right.
Yeah. What
And
about you guys? Did you pivot? Did you steer? Did you just fall in a well?
all of the above.
No?
Yeah, totally. No, when I moved to Italy, I was in grad school in my 20s, in my late 20s, and had to study for this exam to finish to get in test into the doctoral program. And so I was like, "Oh, I'm going to go to Europe and study this summer," right? So it was before we had Kindles. So I had all these books in my suitcase and I went
The heavy
and I
suitcase.
met this guy on the plane and fell in love and ended up traveling all around Greece with him. And then he was Italian, went back to Italy with him. And he's the one that convinced me to move to Italy. He lived in Florence and he's the one that told me about these Reggio schools, right? So I went back to the US. Had already decided I was moving to Italy. And then we broke up. But I had already given up my apartment in New York, sold all my belongings, and I was like, I'm still going. You know what I mean? Like that was a good segue to get me into it. And so the next year I still moved there. I didn't speak any Italian. I didn't know anyone. And it ended up turning out well. I ended up writing 2 books about it, blah, blah, blah. But if I had been deterred, and this is what I was going to say to you, Jerry, is I think it's worth noticing and complimenting you on, like you had the courage to go to New York, right? And that takes a lot of courage. And then you also had the wherewithal to know when it was time to pack it up. And so those are kind of like 2 different ends of the spectrum, right? Of like living bold and taking risks and then saying, I'm getting handed my ass. I might have to do something different.
It
Yeah.
must have been the right decision because when I finally made it and left, I felt so relieved. Like, it was just like, ah, like, uh,
The
just the
first step is
grind.
the toughest, right? The
Yeah.
first step is the toughest. The 0 to 1, right, is the toughest. Sometimes,
I never told you, though, I took a 6-week, road trip to get there,
oh,
driving
wow.
across country. Yeah, so that was
Oh,
a
you
lot of fun.
did.
See, and
Mhm.
I
that's
bet.
like, make it fun too. It doesn't have to be like, oh, that didn't work out. I'm going to be sitting in, like, with my chin touching the ground. Like, it's okay. That's great, right? That's a lesson too, is that, that something else might be waiting. I'll tell you, I've interviewed over my career, I've had more jobs that I didn't get than what I got, right? I've done
For sure.
At that time I was crushed, right? I'd be like, oh my God, I've been rejected. I honestly want to thank every opportunity that I didn't get because it pushed me to the other one. It pushed
Mhm.
me to say, okay, well, I need to do something different. If not this, then what? So let's think something different. And, so it's just giving yourself the permission after failing to actually get up and move on. Right.
Mhm.
And
That is, yeah. Go
no,
ahead, Julia.
totally. And I was going to say, I feel like, you look at things, it doesn't have to be a failure. It's a redirection. Cause I will say, I've had my heart set on many a man over the years. And now at this age, I thank God every day I did not end up with any of these guys. But you know what I'm saying? Like, it's like you think you know what you want. And then sometimes you're presented with another option, which doesn't look as appealing at the time, but in, you know how hindsight is 2020. It's like
Yeah.
you may
Mhm.
not be that satisfied in the moment. And then when we look back, it's like that worked out exactly how it was supposed to for the kind of long haul. So,
And gosh,
Fantastic.
don't we have a lot of hindsight between us?
oh, Lord.
And you don't talk about lessons learned. You know what happened? Fast forward 4 years later, I meet another woman. She wants to move to San Francisco. I'm like, I don't know if I want to follow another woman to another town, another big city. So what did I do? Applied to grad school, got into grad school, came with the woman. 25 years later, we're celebrating our anniversary. Married her
Yay.
after that.
Hmm,
So you
not,
learned
but
a lesson from your first one. You're like,
I
I'm
did.
not, I'm going to do something similar, but I'm going to do it differently. Right?
well,
So,
also
100% true.
you had your own, but then you embedded your own goal in it. So instead of compromising just for, then everything is dependent on that one person. And I will say these relationships, because mine moving to Italy, where it's a lot of pressure on the other person too, which I feel like we don't always think
Mm.
about because then you're the only one they know. Somehow and that's actually why his name was Elvio. I'll go ahead and say names. I don't care. If you behave badly, I'm taking a page out of Taylor Swift's book. You deserve to get what I
Oh,
have to say about you.
yeah.
But the bottom line is, I think that's how he felt was like, wow, this woman is like changing her life coming here. It was a lot of pressure for him. And, I was like 28. So what did I know? But now in hindsight, I can see that is a lot. You know what I mean? It's quite a
Yeah.
bit to put on someone, and especially at that age.
And you were moving into his world, right? And like he had to like change the way he was living and interacting because you were coming into his world, right?
Well, I think I would have, the thing what ended up working out was so funny is that, my whole goal, like you going to grad school was I'm going to work in these schools. What I didn't know at the time is that this town I wanted to work in was like almost 3 hours away from Florence. So there's not any way I could have commuted.
Well,
So I ended up moving right to Reggio, and I had to infiltrate the whole town to get permission to work in these schools, which I did. But it ended up working out so much better for my long run health and professional success and what have you, because what it did is it got me to pivot. At that time I was living in New York City, and it got me to make a change that I wouldn't have otherwise made. And then other things kind of unfolded along the path. Once I had built up a little momentum, it's like, okay, well, now the guy is gone,
mhm.
but so you're going to this other town. Somehow it all kind of orchestrates together.
yeah.
Yeah, it worked
And
out.
you could have made a different decision, right, Julianne? You could have said, hey, you know what? The reason why I'm moving is not there. I'm not going to do this anymore. You're like, no, actually, I'm going to still do it because this still is what I want. And so even though, and I think that thinking that through is sometimes you just have to believe in what you want. And then even if there are, you have to pivot or take a side road, right? If the highway is closed, you're going to take the
Mhm,
back road and get there, right? So you
mhm.
have to be, there are many things in life like it's not it's not always a straight line. Sometimes it is
Never.
one of those curved paths, right? But ultimately this is where we want to be, like, this is what I really want to accomplish. And that necessarily is not about career or family. It's about who you want to be. I want to be this one person who wants to be able to you know be that kind, empathetic, but also accomplished. And accomplishment is different things for different people. So anyway, so what would you tell your 28-year-old self, Jan, today?
Do it, do it, do it. I still tell myself this all the time. Like right now, I'm going into AI and building stuff. I'm just moved to New Orleans last year, living on a farm. I'm like, jump off the cliff. I mean, and a girlfriend of mine said to me years ago, more often than not, your parachute's going to open. Sadly, not every time. Hopefully, it's not too far down. But sometimes you're getting a little roughed up. But but ideally, when you're and I've heard this too. It's like the universe or God or life, they like action. And so it's like if you can be predisposed to taking action towards your goals, in my experience, it's like somehow the world meets you there and things start to happen. Because even when I moved to Italy, that was the thing. Everything started to fall in place. Like the money came together and you know what I mean? All these things that seemed like they would be such a big headache, all just super resolved. I got a job. I got a visa. I was like, okay, so here I come.
Yeah.
Who needs that guy anyway, Elvio?
Lessons learned.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
guys, we're
So
coming
Jen,
up on time.
Yeah. What
Oh,
do you?
good.
Let's finish up with your
Right.
advice to your 25-year-old self, or the
You know,
guy
I
in
mean,
New York.
it was a learning experience, right? If I never went, I never would have learned a lot about who I was and what I wanted. So I wouldn't have gone back to Hawaii. I wouldn't have met my wife. So everything happens for a reason. I'm a true believer for that. So I would have told my 25-year self, yeah, just jump in, do it. Everything happens for a reason and it works out.
That's right. That's right.
And you, Ruma?
What would I tell my 25-year-old self? Yeah, I mean, it's going to be scary, but do jump off that cliff, because if you don't, nobody else can do it for you, right?
Hmm.
You are the only person who can actually do things that you want to do. And the biggest thing that I tell myself, and this is maybe, I don't know, as a woman professional, as a mother, we sometimes look for others to give us permission. Like, can I do this? Can I take this jump, or can I make this change? I think the biggest permission that you need to do is to give yourself that permission to do that. The permission to not continue in New York, the permission to move to Italy, the permission. So we sometimes look for that validation outside, but actually the biggest permission we have to do is give that to yourself, and then you'll
Yeah.
see things will happen. Because once you give yourself that permission, people around you will also give you that permission. They will actually support you, right? Because nobody wants to take the risk of telling you should do it. That's too much of a responsibility. You have to
Hmm.
take
No,
the
everybody
risk.
will tell you, everybody's happier to tell you not to do it because they're terrified to do it. So you got to
Yeah,
just tune all that out.
yeah. Just, life is not a straight line.
Mm,
No,
It
it's
is
not.
a zigzag. And
amen.
if you're prepared for that zigzag
It's
and
a roller
you're ready
coaster.
to pivot, it's a roller coaster. That's right. If you're ready to make that pivot, people who do well in life make changes as needed. And if they're not stuck in their ways, then they'll get further, and they'll be happier.
Nice. All right. Hey, pretty good. Not bad.
You
Thanks
wanna
for sharing all your insights. I
Yeah.
mean, I'll close this out. You've been listening to Polished Ish because life isn't polished, and neither are we, as
Yeah.
you've seen.
Amen. Great chatting with
Amen.
you all, guys.
All right. Until next week, our next one.
Until our next time we get together.
Woo! Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye, guys.
Okay, bye, guys.